Welcome, everybody. Welcome to BeoTalk 300 and... How many are we?
11,
12.
12. Wow. Forget the
11 was
count.
last week. This week we have a special guest. That way. Did you? Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you very much.
We'll get into it. I'll do some shilling, buy some stuff for yourself over at Skinny Play. Use the promo codes, get 10% off, that sort of thing. Come join our Discord. Links will be all in the description and in chat. Yeah, that's enough shilling for today.
That's about
it. I forgot to add you in this screen. Sorry about that.
There we go.
How's everybody's week been?
It's pretty interesting.
Willie, you're late.
I am. There we go. I'm back. Sorry.
Cat problems.
Yeah, but it's okay. She's calmed down now. She found one of the closets to go into, and that's it. But yeah, no, there was nothing really special this week, I guess, other than we got ourselves the pair of the new headphones coming out. But I haven't even opened the boxes yet.
No, other people online do that.
Yeah, I figured that somebody would go down that route and do it. I just didn't think it would be somebody in Philadelphia doing that. I thought that, usually it's the European side of B&O that embarrasses us in that way, that somebody posts. But yeah, this is not cool. I don't think. And like I've been always saying, if somebody that leaks that kind of stuff, they should have their margins docked by 10%, because there's no other way to punish in business other than financially, in order for people to respect the rules.
Yeah.
You can tell them all you want. You can write a corporate email all you want, but when you start taking the bread off the table, that's when they're gonna start to take note. And I think that should be happening. It should be happening in Europe, and it should be definitely happening also in the rest of the world, I guess, for B&O. If whoever leaks, it doesn't matter. And I guess it goes on to the guy that sold it, or I hope that wasn't the actual owner that sold it. But whoever's at the staff that sold it should definitely have some repercussions out of it, because, if you sell it, how do you not expect somebody not to post it online?
Tell them. If you're a preferred customer, surely it's not that hard, right? It's not rocket science.
And if you like it so much that you want to get it early, hold off to your stupid Instagram pictures till the release date. It's not that much longer to wait. Literally. So anyways, that's my not to get started off on a negative note, but definitely something that I noticed, and I'm like, really, God, come on, man. But yeah, they look cool, by the way. They look cool, and obviously the stats have been leaked already, so they do definitely. They're gonna be enticing, and I will take them here just to run them on a podcast for one day and see what the microphone difference is, because that's apparently what they're voting the most, is that there's 9 microphones. But enough about that. We're here to talk about my favorite, the Lego. Or second favorite, I guess, because first one is B&O. Oh my God. The cat has figured out how to jump on the table, so she's now into my coffee mug.
Enjoy your cup of hair.
That's it. She doesn't lose one. She doesn't lose hair yet, but she definitely is very curious.
Is it a kitten?
Yeah. She's 3 months old. We got her, picked her up exactly 8 weeks. So yeah, like it's hilarious. Still little, clumsy and
that's
very curious.
Yeah.
That's when they're fun. I guess it's like with kids. Once they grow out, it's a different story. So, but I haven't had those yet. So.
Right.
Also, everybody go subscribe to the Instagram account if you want amazing Lego builds.
Oh, that's very nice.
So how did you start with that? Where do you? Because I'm a big Lego Technic collector, right?
Okay, yeah.
And I always to build dioramas more or less for, like, let's say the Audi that I have. I want to make a little. It has to be 35 by 80 centimeters. It's the string shelves. That basically would be my building platform.
Okay.
But I want to do a terrain for each of the Lego sets that I have.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's a large project to go. It's definitely nowhere near as intricate as, with you having trains and lights and all that craziness going on.
Yeah, yeah, that was quite an ordeal building that. It was months and months, well, actually years of just, well, lockdown, COVID. Got really into it, had a lot of time, didn't go out very much.
That had a pretty good positive effect on you, I guess, and also on the Lego
Yeah,
scoffers, based on the little town you've built.
yeah, and then of course when you're not spending a lot of money going out, you're spending a lot of money on things to entertain yourself. So, you're buying
My
these sets,
my highest Lego investment time was during COVID as well.
yeah,
That's
yeah. I think
that's
Lego went nuts during COVID.
yes, yeah.
Absolutely nuts. And that's when a lot of the, fellow Instagrammers would be, joining up, going online, creating accounts, building cities, and, it just exploded. So, yeah, it all started with a single train set and dug out of my husband's parents' loft. It's like when they're cleaning it out, here, take this shit. And I just started building it. I think it was partly a good stress relief,
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
day-to-day jobs and all that kind of stuff. So I said, oh, I'll just build this, and then it turned into, well, where's the train going to go? It needs a train station. It needs a destination. It needs some trees. It needs some buildings. It needs some, and then it
The
just went
spiral.
bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The spiral starts. That's
It's
exactly it.
spiral. Yeah, and then you start to realize, oh, there's collectible sets. So the modular buildings, and then you're trying to hunt down the rare, discontinued sets because you want to have the collection. And yeah, it just became really
A passion of life, I guess now. Yeah,
a passion of life. Yeah, yeah.
it's
But yeah,
definitely
I haven't
something.
posted in a while. I think life got busy, work got busy. Our house was busy. We were hosting a Ukrainian family, and just needed some more space. And it just felt like, I just put it on hold for a little while. But getting back into it again, building the Orient Express.
Oh wow!
I don't know if you've seen that one.
Oh yeah, I've seen him. I know exactly what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
really, really nice.
Sorry, Mikey. Mikey's gonna be a little bit out of his element.
Yeah.
Probably start googling sets just to see what it is.
Oh, sorry. I don't want to make it about Lego. I'm making,
That's all
here
right.
to chat about B&O, and it's funny. I was showing Mikey my little cheat sheet for the products that we have, so I can
Oh,
remember.
right on. It's very cute.
Yeah, so I can remember the names of them all because it gets a little bit, that's the living room one, or that's the
It's getting a little
kitchen one.
BO-ish, that's for sure. B&O, BioSound, BioLab, BioLab.
Yeah, yeah, and then random
BioPlay.
names like the level or the A5 or the M5. You're just kind of
The
yeah.
M3, and yeah, it's
Funny that you say that, because literally earlier today, my missus said something similarly. I asked, like, what do you think of B&O? She's like, well, if it works, literally nothing. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
about it. It's
Oh, really?
yeah.
that is true. Because it is just a part of your life that, it definitely elevates the interior of your apartment in one way or another. And yeah, if it works, you just don't notice it. It's the same when I had the apartment in Calgary. It all worked, so you just don't notice it. I would go home, I would press, music in the keypad in the foyer. By the time I get to take my shoes off, the music's playing and lights are on, whatever, the whole thing works, and you just don't think about it.
Yeah. And
So
when it doesn't
were you
work,
dragged into B&O, or was that one of your choices, as in like
Yeah.
aesthetically?
How was the first dip? How did that go?
with me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I married into it.
Oh, okay, that's how it started.
Yeah.
So how did
Yeah,
your
no.
husband? How did your husband become a collector? I guess, or
I
a
think-
B&O fan.
If I remember correctly, I think his dad had something when he was young.
Oh, so that's
And-
generational now.
Yeah. His dad likes really nice things, and they have very minimalist, nice house. And I think there was probably a stereo or a TV in there. That's how it started. And I think he started collecting it. What did he get? The BeoSound 3000, I think, was his first
First
thing
product.
that bought
Yeah,
as
so
a
that's
young adult and was really impressed
so that's
with.
like early mid 2000s, basically.
Yeah. And then it kind of went from there with all the different like TVs or this, what's this one? The BeoLab 2000. Is that what that says? Yeah. Going back to my cheat sheet and
Oh yeah. The
yeah.
link speakers. So he started to expand
Yeah.
on his system. Yeah.
Expanding all the master link and this whole section down here is what we call the the kit graveyard. It's all the stuff that we have sort of in storage but don't use
Have the
anymore.
hearts to throw it away.
Can't throw it away.
Isn't
No.
that weird with B&O that people have a hard time tossing it?
Oh yeah. And that's what I kind of wanted to talk about was like, there's this love for, is it the design? Is it because you spent so much money on it? Is it because
it looks beautiful? Yeah, it's just it's a piece of art that you're literally tossing. And not that I do it every day, but there are trade-ins, right? And then, like the Avant, when it dies and people just don't want to do the video engine upgrade on it or whatever, and you just take this, it's a 50-kilo TV. It's solid glass and aluminum. It's like, fuck, this is garbage now, man.
Yeah, I think we took that to the recycling center once. That was the only thing I think we ever took to the recycling center, and just looking back longingly, like, did we do the right thing?
Yeah. No, we stripped all the boards too from all the B&O that goes, and that whatever can be sent back to B&O, we do send it back. Sometimes it's almost not worth it. It is recycling because if somebody decides that, screw the TV, I'll just buy the theater with the LG 77 or 65-inch panel, there's nothing to argue about. But if there's things that are still good in the Avant, we pile them in, and then like even the speaker boxes if they need it, all the power supplies. I send basically everything other than the wiring back if possible.
Oh, that's great.
So it still helps all the others at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think partially it's the money you spend on something, but it's also the aesthetics of like it's beautiful, but you also tend to live with it for like at least a decade.
It becomes a part of your life, man. It's almost like a dog dying or a pet, right? It's just because it's so intertwined into all the memories. It's a TV. Every Christmas, it definitely dominates in one of the pictures, right? Because kids are around it, or somebody's around it, or kids are playing. So it's a long-lasting part of the memories of people's lives that B&O does have that impact. Yes, you can have other brands that just have these boxy box, whatever speaker-looking things, but nothing is as distinguishable as B&O. When you see, you know exactly what that is. Oh, that's my grandpa's CD player. Or when, whatever. Like they immediately know. It's not like, oh yeah, this is Marant's D45 CD50 or whatever. Like nobody knows these numbers, models, and whatever.
Yeah.
But with B&O, it's not, and it's obviously not hard to have a cheat sheet, because if we talk about Sony or whatever other amplifiers and whatever, you would have a Bible instead of just one page.
Yeah.
So and that's also the beauty of the B&O, the simplicity of it. That there is nothing, you don't have guys roll in with oh well, we're gonna put in another cabinet to hide all your gear into. Where it's just all within itself and neat.
The first B&O thing that I saw, like when I moved here, was it the BeoVision 5?
Yeah,
that's TV.
A heavy TV, man.
Yeah, tell me about it. But used it for movies and such, and I've never seen anything like it before. Like just having that aluminum frame around it and the speaker, and he was explaining to me that it's the design behind it was that it's 50% sound as much as it's vision, and I thought, wow, it's amazing. Like so much thought went into this piece, and still have it. It's in the graveyard, but we still have it. But carried it. And
it sounded amazing for a TV back then. It sounded amazing. It took a pair of BeoLab, I think 2500s in them, which were those side speakers that the 3000 had. So it definitely, it had a very, very good sound.
Yeah, it's good to this day. Like, it's a great TV. And what is it, like 20 years old? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it came out in 2003, I believe, or 2005-ish, around that era where the plasma screens became a thing, right?
Yes.
And yeah, it had a motorized floor stand, which the way it turned, it's like, wow, how many TVs do that? They don't. Lova maybe. That's the only one that I had seen.
Yeah.
But I guess, sorry, full circle to how was my week. We had to move a Lova TV from that era, and it almost looks exactly like the BeoVision 5. It was pretty interesting. So for the recycling sake. Pardon me?
Did they copy the design or?
Yes.
Yeah,
pretty
more or
much.
less. I'll shoot the picture to Mikey so he can share it with the class, and we'll go from there.
So how do you? Because I see a halo behind you.
Yes.
The little remotes. How do you interact differently with the newer stuff versus the older stuff, or do you like an era more, or?
Yeah, so we've got a few of these halos around, and I've really grown to love it. I think it's really easy to use. Compared to I was talking to Craig about it, but like compared to the app,
Yes.
I just go directly to the halo.
Do you love the app like everybody else?
I don't use it that much, honestly. Like, I think if I want to play
Smart woman.
If I want to play a specific Deezer song, I know I kind of have to go into it to then, connect it with everything. And then I used it for a bit when I wanted to, make my headphones sound good. But I don't use it a lot, really. I like the Halo a lot. I think it's great. I just think we're going to connect more and more stuff to it. Coffee machine, blinds, lights, so with the Philips Hue stuff. And I don't know, I think it's really cool how it just ties everything together.
It's a great controller that is basically misunderstood, in my opinion. Yeah, this is the TV. So doesn't that remind you of the BeoVision 5 in a sense, except that it doesn't have that elegant aluminum frame around it?
How do I see what you're showing?
I guess we can go like me on YouTube. Yeah, I just have it on the YouTube stream.
Okay.
But yeah, that's
it's just a stolen design.
But you like shoot your hemorrhoids out of your ass heavy. Like unbelievable. It's thank heavens it comes in 2 parts, and it has an extra biosystem, like a biosystem I call it, an extra video processor. Okay. So nothing is connected to the TV other than this huge, I think it's a 32-pin, like an old printer connector.
Yeah.
With a huge and at least a 1/2-inch cable going into it, and went down to the wall, blah blah. And everything was on the other side. But yeah, this was the Lova stake on that TV. So below that line is just a woofer. The stand is motorized, noisy as fuck. Like it's not like B&O where you can like, oh yeah, no, you can hear like it's like you smack the hornet's nest just. And so where you can and the top is removable, so you can actually split it in 2 and recycle it. But yeah, holy cow! But it's the same Panasonic commercial panel inside it as the BV5. They all use those same panels.
Well, they were the best at the time.
Oh, 100%. Well, they were basically made for airports.
Really?
to display time schedules without burning out.
Yeah.
So they were rated to 100,000 hours of a display panel. That's why all those BeoVision 4 era TVs, just as long as you don't have them way too high up above the sea level, they will live indefinitely, more or less. Or unless the seal breaks in between the glass panel and that the gas escapes and the plasma's gone. But that's they are unbelievably tough made TVs from that era. But now you got to look at the fact that everything is a design of obsolescence by the fact that how fast the technology progresses. Physics of air moving and how the speakers work never changed, right?
Yeah.
Only the electronics behind it for the definition of it all, right? But that you know how much you can expect from a certain size of speaker. Where in TVs, you can go now to insane
8K
sizes. but also like then the limits of resolution starts to go and blah blah blah, because the bigger the panel, the more pixels you see, and the further you have to sit, and how big is your room, and so on and so forth. But yeah, the video definitely is something that it's hard to keep up, which I like about the theater. You can just toss that out and put a new panel.
2 questions for you, Jennifer. What's your current favorite product? And if it's any different, what's your favorite product of all time that you use?
Okay. Current favorite product is probably the BeoSound 9000. So
excellent choice.
We just got that a couple months ago, maybe. Obviously used, tracked down finally, really good deal, because they all went crazy in price, and found someone that was selling it that wasn't too far away. And my husband never loses an eBay bid.
I have the same problem, bro, and sometimes it's not worth it.
The last 8 seconds, just switched in. So pick that up. And it's been so fun to rebuy all of the CDs that we sold. we had hundreds of CDs, sold them all to Music Magpie. It's oh, everything's digital. We don't need this anymore. Let's declutter. And then we buy this, and it's scavenging charity shops looking for oh, remember that Blur CD?
But the thing is, we got coaxed into it. We all got coaxed into the digital media, and now we don't own any music, literally, right? Because if your internet goes down, you're hooked.
Yeah.
9,000, you put a disc in, as long as there's power in the house, you got music.
Yeah. And it's also trying to find the CDs that actually look good on display as well.
The album art, If
anyone has any suggestions, throw them in. But it's literally, maybe we have 20, 25 CDs again after trying to hunt down, the classics that we loved. And so that's kind of a fun toy at the minute. And just seeing it on display is really, really nice. It's one of those things.
Are there still CDs that you can buy around? Is there still a plethora of choice, you would call it, or it's getting limited to what you can come across?
Used is you can get whatever.
Of course. Yeah.
It's tough. We still have one HMV store in the UK, so we have it in Reading at the mall.
Okay.
So if you want to spend 20 quid on a CD versus £1 that's used, you can always do that. But I think it's just fun to hunt, right? You go to these charity shops, they may have a little side shelf with a few CDs on it.
Pawn shops in Canada, basically.
Yeah,
they have tons, and they had a deal in Calgary that I would frequent at one pawn shop. Buy 5 CDs, get a 6th one for free.
Oh, right.
I load the CD. Every time I would go there, I would just load the 9,000 with 6 new discs.
Yeah.
So that's but now you can even see that the display counters of that media is now shrinking down as well.
Yeah. And then the risk is will it skip? Is it damaged?
That's right.
We're throwing some away now that we bought just because it's
because those CD repair jigs no longer exist like in the yesteryears. Remember, you put the CD in and you crank a wheel and it'll polish it somehow. It'll kind of works. I fucked it up even more, and you just go buy another one anyways. But yeah.
So that's been fun. And then what was the other question?
What is your favorite product of all time?
Of all time.
Well, that you've had or used.
That we have. Okay.
It could be the BV5.
I think, one that we have that we use a lot, and it's just amazing. The BeoVision 12. It's a big TV.
I agree. Now you're playing on Sandeep's heartstrings, because that's his favorite for sure. It's the closest one to the wall. It was just gorgeous.
Yeah. When we got it, because it replaced the BeoVision 5. So to have that, it was just, what was it, 65-inch, I think. So much.
Yeah. Oh, it's large display.
Much bigger, and it was just incredible. Well, we still have it. It's incredible. That's just
beautiful.
Really,
I take it you have speakers somewhere attached to it.
Yeah. There's some surround speakers, and there's a bass speaker. The BeoLab 2.
Good choice.
Good choice. That was the kingpin at the time.
Yeah, and the BeoLab. I need my glasses. Wow, I'm getting old.
I know the feeling.
I'm in denial still.
BeoLab 6000s. And the BeoLab.
So basically the classic, the classic system.
Yeah, because the dream is to have the BeoLab 28s. Like that's just comes up in conversation every single day. When are we gonna get these BeoLab 28s? But they're so expensive.
They are, but why? Why would you go with 28s? For the look?
The way they look.
Yeah.
I know the 8s are nice as well, but I think it was the way they open up and they, Yeah,
the mechanics are there. The sexy is definitely there, but acoustically, yes. But see, my only regret there is that you can't really use them if you want to have a sub, right? You have to now switch to a BeoConnect core and run them through power links and splitters and such.
Yeah, but with the BV12, that's already how it goes, right?
With what?
With a BV12 in the mix, that's already how it goes.
Well, yeah. Oh, if you guys are attaching them to the television, then that makes no difference.
I don't know.
Probably.
No, are you planning, if you buy the 28s, are you going to attach them to the TV or just going to have them as standalone stereo speakers, or are you going to put them with the 9000?
Well, I think the plan at one point when we do get them is to do a bigger TV. And here's a question. Can you use the theater, and that's like a sound bar, right?
Yes.
Can you use it with, say, like a big 100-inch LG TV?
Yes, of course.
And
as long as it's LG, you can install the app on it, and you're set. And you will have the remote control. Pardon me?
Is that something that would be good to do? Like have like a non-Bang & Olufsen TV, but with the theater?
Yeah, that's fine.
You can do non-Bang & Olufsen TV, but then there's a limitation in control.
Okay.
So the theater is the bit that makes it a Bang & Olufsen TV, essentially.
Yeah.
Like the preferred screen manufacturer for Beano currently in the modern day is LG anyway.
Yeah.
So in my bedroom, in my living room, like both TVs are LG, but you still have the Beano remote and everything works.
Okay, so it works with a B&O remote completely.
Yes.
So you don't need two remotes.
No.
No.
I absolutely hate.
Yeah.
And especially when you have been around one remote control for a majority of your married life, right? That you just have one remote. Occasionally you probably have something else, shades and shit to control. But when we go to people's places and they find out, let's say they buy a stage because they push on the fact that they want a stage, which is the cheaper sound bar that doesn't have a peripheral unit controller. So then they have to use the cable box remote for watching cable TV, because then you can program the volume control and it still works. It still controls the sound bar. But if they want to go to Netflix, which is much better quality picture off the panel than what the your video provider does in those little shitty cable boxes that they have. So they have to grab the LG screen remote and then go, press Netflix on it, or go to the menu and, select Crave or whatever app, that they go to, and then they use that remote for that time being. So it becomes cumbersome, and especially for some people that come from one remote control. And there's also limitations where I don't know how much you can do with RTI, but not much, as far as you can control all the peripherals, but you obviously can't control B&O directly. So then again, when you watch TV, you can control the volume on the TV, you can control the Blu-ray and all the crap, that whatever, it's connected somewhere downstairs or whatever through this one big touchscreen remote control. However, when you go to B&O radio, you need an app or you need to be hands-on controlling it remote, because there is the RTI doesn't control the BNO anymore because it's not infrared, it's all Bluetooth. So therefore, it's way more logical to just go with the, if you go in with the theater, buy an LG screen, whatever your limitation is budget-wise and size-wise, that's up to you. But I would highly recommend going with that because that interface is seamless then.
Okay.
And then you have the theater has ability, which I think it's too little, but it has ability to control 2 devices via infrared at a time, right? So if you have some obscure cable box, but this is a little different in UK because all that stuff is built into the panel, right? As far as the TVs, Mike, you would probably attest to that more than
a lot of it nowadays.
Yeah. So that doesn't exist in Canada. Like, how you've grown up here, you know how it is. You always had a cable box and a TV, right? And
I think you can get the ITV and BBC apps on the panels natively now.
Okay, so here it's still they just scam you by the default of a box you need, right? Because you're not just to pay for the channels and shit. They still paper cut the $5 a month rental fee for the box. So that's where that is. But anything else like Apple TV, you connect to this, it'll be controlled natively with the BNO remote. It doesn't matter. You could also control a PlayStation with the BNO remote.
And an Xbox.
And an Xbox connected to the panel, to the TV, whatever. So yeah, if that's where you're going with, and that's your decision making process is, at the end of the day, if you buy the theater, it's a product that in 10-15 years it's not going to be sitting in the storage because it's just a speaker. Not necessarily a dumb speaker because it's got all this brain and and everything in it. But let's say 5 years from now, the screen goes to shit because it's 8K now, let's go get an 8K. So you can recycle the screen, and essentially there's only 2 things you change. Well, 3 things I guess you would change. You'd probably change the wall bracket height. You would change the HDMI cable going into it, and the panel itself, of course.
Okay.
And then you just download the app to the panel again with an LG account, and boom, Bob's your uncle. You got the interface is back, everything is back, because everything that you had on the remote control is saved in the theater, so it never really changes.
Right, because that's the brain.
That's the brain of it all. Yeah, that's what's behind it. The only thing that would change is like if you had, let's say, had deleted all the default bloatware apps on the LG panel, and they're different by regions, but like karaoke TV, who fucking watches that? So like we delete all that nonsense, or like when we put a TV on a theater at a 70-year-old couple's house, they're not going to use Twitch. So like you delete all that nonsense from it, and that's basically it. Also skims it down in the remote control, so you only see what you're using. You don't have to go Prime, there's a photo, room-to-room share media player, karaoke, blah, 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 blah. And it's just, the list goes like there's 15 to 20 apps sometimes on the list by default from the screen.
There's a web browser app, which is utterly horrific.
For what?
Yeah.
But that's, I guess, it's conjunction with that goofy-ass magic remote, right? Which, like, if your hand shakes just a little bit, you're out of luck, man, because that thing is all over the screen. It's terrible, especially for old people. Damn you, LG, for even not being able to turn it off.
And then, like, what do you think of the remotes? Which one do you like?
Well, now you're gonna start a fucking war, is what that happens.
I wanted to.
Because old one was better for tactile feedback. Like you could navigate that with a gun to your head at 3 a.m. after being drunk. Doesn't matter. Like where the TV volume, everything is, right? With this one, good luck. If I tell you press menu right now, right? Like it's just going to be, you're not going to be, and I've had this remote since 2012 when it came out with the BeoVision 12, BeoVision 12, BeoVision Avant 55 when it first came out. With the list at the top, it was just like the whole, right? Like, thank God they changed that. But you know what? In the process of changing that, they should have just changed and backlit the display.
I agree. I really struggle with this. I think it's, lovely design and it looks great, but I don't know what I'm doing. Like I have to get my glasses on, I have to feel around. Whereas this one, I know exactly, I don't know, maybe it's the separation between buttons.
That's exactly what it is. And then the separation between functions and the digits, right? There's a bigger gap between those two. There's another bigger gap between the diamond, and then there's another gap between your primary off functions and volume up and down and so on.
Yeah.
And I think also that the rubber has a lot to do with it, because it was modeled off of a human skin, basically. I guess that was the whole context, that it feels.
Was it dead for a while, or because it's
I don't know,
really
no, but
human skin?
Bro, that's what I was told. That's how they were. That's how when the training was. That's what they were trying to mimic. You know, the most comfortable touch of rubber to human skin, basically, I guess, and something that, you know, obviously takes on the ink and lasts for a long time, so the buttons don't wear out and rub out, and they're very hard to rub out, quite honestly, unless you have acetone for thumbs. But they were. I understand that the sleekness of the BeoRemote 1, yes, it feels nicer in the hand, but I would much rather sacrifice that feels nicer in the hand for something that I could actually navigate underneath with you know, being cuddled in, and you don't have to go and pull the blanket off. Okay, where am I on the remote control again? So that's one thing that I do not like about that remote. That it's just it's still confusing, and I hope that they will come up with something different and more of a sober idea of navigation. I think they should really base their point of navigation, because if you're visually impaired of any kind, then that remote is a struggle.
Yeah. And I end up getting out my torch on my phone if it's a movie night. You know, you don't want to put all the house lights on, kind of thing. So you get out the torch on the phone, you're looking around to try to see where's pause, where's stop, where's where's back. And the other thing too about it is that it damages really easily. Like, you know, there's little nicks on the corner. Like, you say I'm wearing rings or something. It just, if it's that much money, you don't want to have little scuffs on it, and it scuffs kind of easily, I find.
Yeah, the BO4 is a beast in that. You can drop it and it's fine. It doesn't even scratch, really.
No, that thing was done proper. But this, I agree, like the bottom edge corner of the remote, that gets beaten the shit out of on every single person's place that I've been to. Mine, it doesn't suffer that because I have soft floors. But if you have a tile floor, which usually people have, you know, in whatever area that the remote usually happens to be, there's tile, and that drops down, it's over. It'll
ruined.
It'll bear the dent of savagery that'll never go away. That's it.
That's it. It's there. It's there forever. Oh well.
So yeah, that's one thing that's bothersome. But maybe they should make like a OtterBox rubber sleeve for it. Then, you know. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, I think the remote is due for redesigning. I understand that the BO4 has been around for 20 years before they more or less cut it. So. And they've been different variations, one with the see-through screen, an upside-down thing, buttons on the back, and so on. There was 2 variants of that. But the general shape of it stayed the same, where, yes, I understand this redesign, but, you know, I think the biggest lackluster on this is the lack of backlighting.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that, in my opinion, if I were to do it as an engineer, I would, just like on the old BO6s, there was an ambient light sensor behind them, you know, the ball remote with the screen. It had an ambient light sensor behind it, so it knew how bright it was. And then based off of that, it would light up the keypad or doesn't light up the keypad, which is only do the screen. And I don't think that there would have been that much to ask for if this just had the sensor, including the gyro sensor. So when it's picked up, measures the intensity of the light, and based on that, lights on or lights off. And I don't think the logic would have been that difficult. And at the end of the day, it's a $600 remote now. If your problem is batteries, Canadian. If your problems are batteries, then you're driving the wrong car, more or less, right? If you're buying a nice car and your problem is that I want to put 87 gas on it, then you bought the wrong car. So I'm not concerned about the battery consumption at all. If it takes 2 months, then it's 2 months, but make it backlit, for God's sakes. I have these plastic ass remotes from the cable boxes that last forever. They're backlit. They're on Wi-Fi somehow or Bluetooth, whatever, because you can talk to it, right? And it goes and pulls up shit on the TV. Why can we not have something that at least has the buttons backlit?
Yeah, that's because the BO4 wasn't needed. You could find it. But with
You
this,
could find it.
it's just smooth nothingness.
Mm.
I mean, I bet you with all the Lego, you probably have some like calloused fingertips as well. Like, there's no texture to it whatsoever. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I did have some sore thumbs.
So the Lego that you have, like the lighting's inside, how do you program it yourself or integrate it in yourself, or what do you use to light that stuff up?
Well, you could buy kits. So there's different suppliers that will sell kits for certain sets, and of course you can kind of use different lighting sets with different. You just have to mix and match. But if you say you had like a modular building, say
What
like
do you power them from?
cinema thing, they would sell a lighting kit that works with that set. And what they do is they take the Lego bricks themselves and they put little LEDs inside the brick, and then it's you kind of have to replace the brick that's there with that one, and sort of build it within the set itself, and then you have like a USB that you just plug into a USB power source.
So that brings another very important question.
Yeah.
Cable management.
So under the city itself, digging, drilling lots of holes into the surface of the city.
Yeah.
We would then hide all the cables through those holes, and then underneath the city itself would just be millions of USB ports stuck with like blue tack under the city to plug in. It's a real it's a real labor of love, because once you do add all the lights,
it looks cool as hell, man. Like with the lighting, it looks cool as hell. It gives it a different life.
Thing. It looks amazing when you do it, but then once you do it, you can't really take the buildings apart like.
It's done.
If you want to take the top off, or you want to take the section of the building off, it's all connected with wires, and it becomes really fiddly, and you can break it. So
it's procedural at that point, I'm sure.
So essentially, you've become a low voltage electrician.
Pretty much.
Basic, very basic. But you're showing pictures. I just see that. So that river, that was around 8,000 little blue triangles
Bloody
that
hell.
I bought and stuck in. That's why my thumb hurt so much, was putting each one of those one by one studs.
It's a lot of cheese slopes, man.
It's a lot of cheese slopes, but the effect was worth it. I think.
I think it looks it looks like the water's flowing, because a lot of people use just a transparent blue 2x2 bricks, right? Yeah. It looks too polished, too calm, but I like that. Yeah, the cheese slopes are cool, man. Those are not transparent, are they?
They're semi-transparent. Yeah.
Okay.
Transparent. But yeah.
I like that it gives that shine off the slopes, right? Where that gives that natural sparkle to the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. Where's my coffee? Very, very cool.
So that was fun. The mountainside, and more slopes, more cheese slopes. Definitely a labor of love building all of that.
So how do you source your bricks? Let's start with that. How do you source your bricks? Where do you go? Do you buy them in a pick a brick at the back of the Lego shop with the cups, or do you just?
Not always. They don't always have what you want.
Of course they don't. But different stores carry different bricks too, which I also found out. If you have more than one Lego store within the vicinity, they have different pick a bricks.
Yeah, for spare parts, I'll go on Bricklink. And there's loads. It's owned by Lego now, and there's loads of independent sellers that sell bricks, and you just kind of put in what you're looking for. You get like a list of sellers. You find who's in the UK or wherever.
Yeah. No, I've done Bricklink. I've rebuilt some sets that I bought a long time on eBay.
Yeah, so Bricklink, and then sometimes if I want, to build a lot of infrastructure, like say all the gray bricks that I did with the, the sides of the railway stuff, I would just buy from Lego Direct. You can just do, pick your own bricks that way and just buy directly from Lego.
Oh, and they send you a whole pile?
Yeah. So you want 500, 1x2 gray bricks, they will send you 500 1x2
So do you use that Lego Studio or whatever, that 3D program to build stuff in?
I can't. I think I've tried.
Too many parts to pick from, I think, isn't it? It gets confusing.
Yeah, and I just would rather do it in real life. I don't know.
Me too. I've tried it. I'm like, you know what? It's the same thing. Like, I'm trying to put the lights into the Audi, and now I find out that the Technic lights don't fit in properly. They're loose. I don't know what they were made for. I thought they would just go right into the Technic pin and stay shimmied in. So now I have to figure out how to do it. And I don't even know where to find the model of it if I could in the Lego in the 3D, but I'll just order a whole bunch of Technic sets or Technic pins and crap from Bricklink and go from there. But Bricklink is essentially where I've started recovering some bricks from Lego. Did you ever grow up with Lego, or was it something that you just that one train find was the end of it and it more or less, or the start of it?
No, I did grow up with Lego. I liked to make, the little houses with the red roof and the little shutters on the doors and do that kind of stuff. And, but then I grew out of it. I became a teenager, didn't really care about it anymore, as you do with toys. And then it really just came back as a hobby when we were just digging out the old retro stuff from the attic, and it was like, oh, do you remember this? Do you remember this? And let's build it. We're going to have some kids over for Christmas. They're going to love playing with it. Let's make a little scene. And then that little scene turned into my Lego obsession and room. So, yeah.
This is I had my mom send me the Lego from back when I grew up as a child in Slovakia. And this was the first Lego set that I've ever gotten. I was 3 years old. So this is now a 40-year-old piece.
Yeah.
The cat didn't find it yet, so I'm good.
Oh, it's cute. It's cute. Yeah.
But it just proves it stays good for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
For a long time. It's the best toy I think you can have for your children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
And I think by default, everybody that has B&O has to have at least one Lego set in the house. That's just it's part of the Danish rule.
Yeah.
Unwritten rule.
Yeah, for Saturn 5 like everybody else over there.
The Saturn 5.
Yeah.
Be fun to build B&O something out of Lego. Maybe one of their, I don't know, bass speakers, or one of their, maybe the hand basket, what one's that again? The A5,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Probably you can work better if LG or if Lego made it.
Yeah.
Probably put a phone in it. Well, they made a little radio that you can put your phone into and play. That was one of the recent, I think, the Lego creator sets. But yeah, I always try to do that. And I don't know if you remember the architectural sets from back in the yesteryears, Dr. Farnsworth house. It was a house that they did. This was back now. We're going about 12, 14 years. And I put BeoLab 5s in it. I used the black cones with the round black cones, 1x1, and with a little 1x1 rounded gray stud on it, or gray brick. So they looked like little BeoLab 5s in that little thing. And I had it in the store. And funny enough, a lot of people actually did recognize that in the. Oh my God, those are those speakers you have in the theater. I'm like, yeah, they're there. So yeah, that was my business card holder back in the B&O store. It was the Dr. Farnsworth house with BeoLab 5s inside it.
Oh, that's cute.
All made in Lego. Yeah.
And where do you keep yours? Just in storage, or is it in?
Well, right now it's in storage. I actually, when I lived in Calgary, I had an entire room also dedicated to it, as proper nerds would have, and that's where that idea spawned from. Well, how do I put because Technic sets are not city sets. They're quite large, right? And if you want to show this little crane, if with the boom up, it's a meter tall set now. So where do you put all this? And I started digging around, and I found this Swedish company, String Shelves, String.se, And I found a retailer in Calgary, and I bought these, and they're modular shelves. So it's just you basically put these two metal brackets on the wall, and then you can put the shelves whichever height you want. And then there's two different sizes. They're all 30 centimeters wide, so all the sets would fit on it. And I basically built out the entire room with them, and I put all my Lego sets there, and I started even more after the COVID hit because there was nothing else to do. So I started buying more of the, not just the retro sets, but this and that, and rebuilt all the sets because I had them all taken apart when I moved. They've been in the boxes for last, I would say, 15 years in bags, and I built them all together, and then I bought those shelves, and I basically made myself a Lego room. I don't know if I'll do it again in the apartment that I'm moving into because I'm not sure how long I'm going to stay in Montreal to begin with, and for a year I don't think it's worth rebuilding all of that. So I'll leave them boxed, and once I'm in Florida, I'll do it all over again. I'll have a dedicated Lego room, and that's probably when I'll start into doing these dioramas on the shelves to give each set more or less its own theme type of thing, because I really always wanted to do that. And same thing, I'll probably do the lighting, because the lighting really brings up the sets and the whole look of it. So yeah, that's a song of the future. But yeah, there's nothing better than just sitting like I used to on the bench building the Lego and having listened to the speakers at the 90s at the time. So that was great, and just build all afternoon.
Oh yeah, that's a good time.
Drink some bourbon, and you miss a brick. 150 steps later, you find out that you missed the brick, and you have to go all the way back.
I have these leftover pieces.
Oh man, that happened to me. I'm like, why is this function not go? And then it was a tow truck that I was building, and I went pretty heavy on the bourbon one night, and I missed the spot. Missed the step in 50, number 50. I missed the step, and I found out at 347 step that I had missed that. I had one more step to put the fucking wheels on it. That's it. And yeah, that set sat for 2 weeks. I was pouting. For 2 weeks, I'm like, I'm not touching it. And then I'm like, I gotta fix this.
Yeah, because it's not right, and it's like
it's not right. That doesn't work, right? And it's just like, oh my god, I gotta like take it all apart. And you try to do it with the manual, but like flip 10 pages, see if you can take a modular block out, and then you have so many blocks. It's like, oh Christ on a cross, I have to start over again because I don't know which one's what.
Yeah.
The suffering. But you know what though? I have to say, thanks to Lego, I think that's what made me a really, really good technician with B&O, and I'm not scared to take apart these things to the board level because I now have a very good understanding on how it all comes together. Well, first of all, how it all comes apart, because nothing comes apart. First, you have to take it apart and then put it back together fixed. But that process of, stacking all the screws properly, blah, 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 like make sure that you're organized with it, and you pack it all back in, and then you have nothing left, and you've done a great job. But a lot of that I'd chalk up to the fact that, my parents started me off when I was 3 years old with Lego, and I had my first Lego Technic forklift set when I was 6 years old with the pneumatics, and and then you start
preparing you for a job.
And I was just like, this nerd is gonna be uber nerd. So yeah, I just became what I am, and it's really thanks to that and I really would advise a lot of parents that if you want to have, I think that you should have a Lego set for your kids, because it just the creativity that develops in children is substantial, and it definitely comes back in life later, because you don't even know that you might have yourself brewing a little engineer in the house by simply letting them play with certain bricks, then or Technic or City or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. It does do things to the brain, building something and having to not use instructions and come up with
your own building technique, and that's what makes you proud of it,
Yeah, like the sets are great, but it's nice to, like you said, you want to build a scene around, what you built, and
there is no instructions for that. That's all out of your own mind. Like there is no way, right? And then I guess the biggest challenge is like, how do you know what bricks you need? That's the toughest.
Yeah.
And that's where you start getting into, I have bags and bags already that I've been accumulating for exactly this exercise, but I still need more and more. I need cheese slubs because I'm totally stealing your river.
I've got.
I need cheese slubs for sure.
Mm.
But yeah, no, it's I think that they really go very well together. The passion for Lego, I guess anything Danish really has its longevity in design, and I think it outlasts anything around. Oh yeah, this is cool.
Like, I doubt it, but you know, because it always goes together, like you said, Bang & Olufsen and Lego. Like the customers tend to like both. I don't really see them ever collaborating, like, because you know, Bang & Olufsen collaborates Ferrari or other companies. There's not really any point, is there, to collaborate with Lego?
I would say so, but they don't think so anymore.
Yeah.
Like coincidentally, the BeoSound 5 that you have behind yourself, the entire system of interface was designed with Lego Technic.
All right. Wow.
They did, they have it in the museum. Like the actual principle of it all was done in Lego. How, you know, the dial, the turning wheel, the jogger, and the volume wheel. They were all. It started off from Lego Technic designs. But then again, it's not that they collaborated with it. This is just something that they had used to mechanically work out the problem that they had in front of them. Yeah, the prototype. How are we going to put this together? And yeah, that's where it's funny that you have that system. But yeah, that's where the Lego, I know for a fact, was used to design the interface.
Mm.
So, but what would you do as a set? Like, how would you make a Lego set? You know, I think it's more or less like it would be something like those classic sets where you make, like, you know, build the lap 5s and a little 9000 system, right? That would be cool. Like, that's a very classic B&O system. Or the pencil speakers. Like, all those bricks are there to build it. It's just how big of a scale you want it and what detail you want to really go into.
Yeah, I like your 1x1 scale for the speakers. That's funny.
No, because they match the minifigs too. They're more or less proportional to the.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think. Well, B&O is very interesting, but I don't think it's children interesting per se when it comes to the building the Lego set. Like, what would you? Because it's all sculptural basically. Like, if you were to build a theater, like, there's no function in it, right? Yeah. So I don't understand. But in a like a small scale sets, you can probably build something that resembles B&O in your little, you know, Lego City world. But I think that at that point, if you're gonna start building, let's say, a B&O sets in a Lego scale, I think you have to migrate from minifigures to Technic figures. The bigger ones, right, where that would more proportionally match, because then it gives you more freedom with the detail and the bricks and sizes.
Yeah, more detail. Yeah.
So, but that would be about it, because with the minifigs, it's more or less stickers. That's the only thing I could imagine.
I currently also don't think B&O is itself interested in Lego, because like that survey said, right? Like, they're interested in extremely rich people. Like, how many black cards do you have? Like, how many live-in staff do you have? And not just like, do you have a chef and a butler, but also, do you have a live-in technical team?
What?
Yeah, which is like, I guess.
What do you mean living technical team? Like, what are you running a missile silo out of your freaking backyard? Like, what do you need a technical team in the house? Hey, how badly built is your house that you need a technical team to be full-time? My question.
I don't know. Maybe it's like they clean out your AC, but also do your Wi-Fi or something.
Well, you know what? There's always a point. There's a thin line between jack of all trades and master of none, than hiring a professional for each task. But yeah, I understand. I've seen some of the questions in the survey, and I was like, wow, guys, come on. Who went out behind the Factory 5, smoked a joint, and came back with these ideas? Honestly, like, who did that?
I think it's upper management. I don't think there was any joint smoking involved. I think this is what they mean with very high net worth individual customer seeking, unfortunately. Like, I guess I technically know a few people that fit into the very high net worth, but they're all so private, right? Like they would be aghast at like having somebody live with them that's not their family.
I cater to a lot of people that have exactly what these people are surveying.
Yeah.
Those people would never answer that survey, bro.
No.
That's just, I'm telling you this right now. Like we have people that, clients under NDA, and only certain staff from our shop is allowed to enter that house. If that guy's not available, well, fucking it's not happening till the guy's available. So I think that they're having very, very, very high hopes in order to get any real data out of that survey, because if you send it to whoever else, fuck yeah, I got butlers. You know what I mean? I can check all this nonsense of how do you know it's real? And I just bought a set of H95s, right? Because they just thank you for buying. I'll send you a survey because you're part of the mailing list. Like,
are you saying understand. Your cat has live-in staff? Because our cats certainly do.
Well, yeah, if they surveyed your bloody cats, then like they're high net worth individuals because they're they have a technician on site every day too,
and a groomer.
And a groomer and a gardener and a chef. So yeah, that's not. I really don't think that they're gonna get a realistic measure out of that survey. In my opinion, I think they're a little bit out to lunch with it.
Well, but besides the point, it's not just a survey, right? This is the sort of direction they want to go in, where like they're essentially telling us in so many words without telling us, like. I don't know, if you make 200 grand a year, it's kind of like, we're kind of not after you anymore. Which is... Yeah,
but I think that's a silly approach. I think it's a very silly approach to that, because those people are more or less the bread and butter for those.
I mean,
because, yes, you can the high net worth vendor, let's say they buy a set of 90s and whatever that they never listen to, but they only buy them once. If you have 10 people that are in a 200K income, let's say, bracket, and each of them buys a set of 28s, like you still made, I don't know how much money offset. I think you still make more money on the 28s than one set of Lab 90s, margin-wise.
Yeah.
Or at least you have 10 people with the possibility of expansion to their system instead of just one guy. And then one guy, if he's got the 90s, what else do you expand it with? Nothing else, because they're the top of the line speaker, other than you buy a 50s for the rear. Or another set of 90s, which is another $250,000.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a hard sell, where people that have 28s, maybe they bought them when, I'm going to buy the Theater Next, and then they can upgrade with the Lab 8s at the back. And all of a sudden, like you have a $60,000-$70,000 system out of a guy that, you would have never had. But that's over time. It's not someone like, I think what they're looking for is to fill up the bucket with one scoop.
Yes.
And I think if you let the water drip in, I think it's much more rational to do it that way.
I mean, Jennifer, would you guys still be interested in 28 if, like, within a year they're like 50% more valuable? Because at that point, like, how do you guys justify B&O purchases?
Yeah,
because like a lot of it is probably design and timelessness, right? But there is a point where like that money goes like, ooh.
Yeah. There's always like a line where you're just like, that's just too much. Where, and I think that's where maybe the 8s would be a good compromise, because it's I think it's that look that we like of the wood on the front, and even 8s still, they're just as beautiful. Maybe they can go in a certain display way, and like you said, they're more accessible, and just as well. I wouldn't say just as powerful, but powerful enough. Like, how loud do you need to be?
Yeah.
You can. I'll hold my comments.
Yeah. Well, for me, I don't need things super loud, so there you go. It's a nice compromise. But it was funny, those on eBay, those BioLab 28 scam came up, and before we knew it was a scam, it's like, why are they only 5,000 pounds? There's something wrong. They're just trying to get rid of it. Should we do it? And hummed and hawed, and then before I knew it, they just sold. So, it's too late. We missed out. And luckily, it didn't get them, because it turned out to be this big this big scam, and then they were, again posted the following week, and then the following week, and the following.
Oh wow, yeah. So no.
Yeah. So, you have to also be careful when you do see a deal. Like, is this real?
But inferring a bit from that, what you're saying is that because they've already more or less told us that every year prices will go up by X%, regardless whether there's merit to it or not. It does make you go more secondhand market / eBay route than dealer route, I take it.
Oh, yeah. Like, buying new stuff like this, like some of the, the stuff that you can take around, obviously, buy it new. But like the really, really high-end stuff, I'm just trying to find it secondhand. With a warranty. A warranty. Yeah.
That makes sense. Because, like, I have a ridiculous system, but even I am sort of like going like, well, the only time this ever made sense for me to buy, let's say 90s, right? Like, it was 5 years ago, but like I don't have a time machine, so I guess I'm out. And even the speakers I bought 5 years ago are sort of like, well, I guess I don't want to rebuy them now. It's
yeah.
Well, it's ironic, but a lot of people made fun of me when I bought the 90s. Like, you're crazy. You spent all this money, man. You'll never get your money back. Blah, 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 blah. And they're double the price of what I paid for them 8 years ago now. When they first came out, they were $100,000 Canadian. Now they're $220. So they're over a double. And I have the white set, which is another $20,000 extra because of the white grills.
Is it the white with the gold?
No, those are 220 because it's a taupe colored. Mine are pure white with silver crowns and the silver inserts, and those were actually the first ones in the world made in that color.
Wow.
That were just starting the bespoke program, and I ordered them, and that was that. But now, yeah, if let's just put it that way, I'll never lose money on any B&O that I've ever bought. The only thing that really depreciates is the LG screen. The rest below it goes up in value. So that's what's funny about B&O, or ironic rather, that it doesn't just retain, it increases over time. So you never really lose. And people that bought 18s per se when they first came out, and they would to sell them now, they basically even out their. They can sell them for a little bit more than what they paid for them, 8-10 years ago.
Yeah, it's a bit strange because these were from launch, and especially in the US, they're more expensive than what I paid for them by quite some margin.
Well, North American market gets screwed over by the taxation and obviously the cost of shipping, right? Because you don't incur that much of a cost when it's being shipped from Czech Republic where it's made to, let's say, England. It's across the river basically, or a little bit more of an ocean. Not really.
Yeah.
But it's not the distance where here. First of all, you need to get it across the pond, then it lands back in Toronto, and then you need to fly that into Vancouver, which is another 7-hour, 8-hour flight. So the cost incurs, and by default, when the pallet hits the Canadian ground, before that, it used to be the pallet would hit the U.S. ground, so you would import it from U.S., so then we would pay the U.S. tax. So that's why Canadian product was much more expensive than you buying it in U.S., and that's still the case to this day. Also, the offset of the dollar and the cost offset of income makes it. The gap is quite more pronounced in Canadian market than it is in U.S. market when it comes to the B&O pricing. But then again, it's almost, some of the stuff is almost worth buying in Europe and have it shipped to North America.
Especially if it's for personal use.
Yeah, and you're still saving money. It's insane.
A question about the design over time for you, Jennifer. Maybe this is because, like, the way I look at it, but is it the older B&O was a bit more it was elegant but harsher in terms of materials, and it's become a bit more feminine now, do you think? Or like, which way do you lean? What do you like more? Do you like the current sort of lineup of products more, or is it more like the classic? Like I want more aluminium of everything.
No, like I'm just looking at my sheet of product again. So like the new stuff, I definitely like a lot more. There was this one we had, the BeoVision 7, with that big metal
soundbar.
Yeah, soundbar at the bottom, and then that big stand and the big thing at the bottom of the stand. I just, I never really liked that TV. Just because it was Bang & Olufsen. Oh, it's beautiful. We must have it. It's like, I'm not really a fan. I didn't feel like the soundbar balanced well with the size of the screen, if that makes sense. Like,
yes,
it always
absolutely.
just a bit off, like in proportions. I do think the stuff they've been making lately is incredible. I love the integration of the wood into the designs of things. So I tend to, be drawn to those types of products. I don't think they really did that in the past, did they? It was mostly like black and metal.
Gold, aluminum, and fabric. Basically, that's what the design. That's the David Lewis era, right? Like the BeoVision 5. It's just aluminum with fabric.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me, I love that era, but I do agree it's sort of more bachelor pad look. It's
maybe harsh, yeah. Some.
I think it just dates itself now. Like, even though B&O stands the test of time, it's the same thing. Like, if you're looking at a BeoMaster 9000 from 1987, if it's turned off, it still looks current, like something that. But if you turn it on, you see the lights on it, the numbers, and then it presents itself with the era that it's been designed in, and it's the same thing with the rest of it, in my opinion.
Well, even if you modernize it, right? Like back then, there were a lot more hard angles and that sort of thing. Like I think I have a lot easier time getting the modern stuff with agreement from the missus than the older stuff, so to say. I mean, I'm guessing your husband has a similar experience, where it's like, honey, would you like some of this? And you go, yes, actually.
Yeah. There's one thing he recently bought that I absolutely hate. But I don't hate it because I know he's listening. I don't hate it. I just don't like the way it looks. What is it? The BeoPlay V1. Is that it?
That is, you know what? I hated that TV when it first came out, and I find it is the cutest thing ever now. It's an ugly duckling, man.
It's got handlebars, like it's.
Yeah.
Don't know.
It's a garage TV. It's a garage or a kitchen TV.
It's in the garage.
So you don't look at it much.
It acts as like a stereo mostly, and maybe
because you can link it and it sounds good, and there is a picture if he needs to be in the doghouse for the game. So
and again, it was an amazing deal, and had to have it, kind of thing.
It's a great TV.
I was just like,
it is very industrial design. design. So. Like, and not many people liked it, but
there's not a soft edge on that thing.
No. There's the only thing that's rounded is those freaking pipes.
Handlebars,
yeah. So that's about it. But yeah, I still have a 32-inch version of it in white color. I don't know if it's white or black that he got.
It's white.
That's the best. That's the best.
Oh my goodness.
You're not winning this one. I'm with your husband on this.
Yeah.
It's a great TV, bro. Good for you.
I know. It's you know what, it sounds good. It sounds good, and it does its job.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was just like, it's not really the most beautiful product I've seen them.
It was marketed as a children's TV, children's room gaming TV.
Oh, that makes sense then.
It was never a part of a. This was a time when Tuo Montoni was a CEO, and he came out with a sub-brand called BeoPlay.
Okay.
And that was their, to us as B&O, like that's an insult, and now you're making a less B&O TV, but it still has a surround sound processor in it. It's got everything inside it. and it was priced about a half of the price bracket from where you would start with regular BeoVision at 10 at the time, or 11 when it came out. So that was the biggest difference, that it still has the ambient light sensor and whatever, but it doesn't have the glass over top to cut the reflection. So it's just it's an exposed LCD. But other than that, it's a fully B&O-ish TV. It's got everything in it, and it was marketed more or less for the kids' rooms.
Okay, so is it more resistant to what happens in a kid's room? Like, say someone throws a ball across the room. Like, is it
part
sturdier?
Of the resistance is literally it's cheaper to replace.
Okay. Yeah.
And the only thing you could possibly damage on it is just the LCD panel, right? Because the rest of it is actually a cast, not cast, but it's a formed stainless steel or steel, or cold formed steel is what that is. So the whole, that thing doesn't bend. And it's serviceable very easy because it opens like a car hinge on a trunk, so it's very easy to service if need be. Yeah, but it was designed more or less as a spare bedroom TV or children's TV, so it's not something that
2008 or something like that.
No, it came out in 2011, 2012 when the V1
because last time they were in the shit with like was it Great Recession, Depression, whatever the fuck that was in 2008-9. They essentially decided we're gonna make everything a lot more cheaper so we can do a shit ton more volume. And currently we're in the same situation, and they're going like, no, let's make everything double the price, which is
things are getting expensive all over the place, everywhere. But you know what, it is what it is. In our store, I don't see, the only thing that I've seen, I guess, a decrease in sales in any way, shape, or form would be the cash and carry products, like the BeoPlay A1, the little burgers or the headphones and whatever, because, at the end of the day, like the HXs are now $600 for earbuds. It's a little too much for some people, and earbuds people are not.
Most people, like, holy shit, if you go to Costco or Sam's Club here, right? Like your Apple AirPods are like $200. Like, are you really gonna spend $500 on B&O?
It's the sound. Yeah, it's the sound that makes the difference, in my opinion.
I'm comparing them to like E8s, right? You can't tell me that for the other features you get makes it worth it. Like, I would say, like, if they were more expensive but sound better, sure, but there's a limit to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't, it's hard when it's 3x the price and you actually have less usability in certain ways. Mostly because it's like a conflict of like Apple being a closed garden.
But hence the slump in sales of that people, like, if you're buying this, like, am I gonna spend $1,000 on H95s or $2,000, whatever the $2,500, whatever the H100s are gonna cost, or am I just gonna buy a BeoSound A5? Buy myself now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would rather you get the basket, right? And then you have music that you can share in the house with everybody, and it's not just headphones that. Yeah, like, are you gonna fucking run around with $2,500 headphones on a subway? I don't think so. I wouldn't do it just for the fact that I would be scared that the bird shits on him. You know what I mean? When you walk on the street, or it starts to rain, what do you do? Right? Like, come on. Yeah, you can bag them up, but like, what if you don't have the bag with you? What if you just walked out? You gonna put them around your neck, hide them under your shirt?
Yeah, swaddle them like a baby, like.
So yeah,
be like a rugby player.
It's the same, like, like people that buy those, $2,000-$3,000 Sennheiser headphones. You don't see them run around. They don't ride a Bixie bicycle that they rented out on and can go down the Montreal bike lane with headphones that cost more than everything that they're wearing. So it's unrealistic. Like, yes, it's cool, but I would rather spend the money in a tangible product that I can visit and live with every day of my life. Like, portals were expensive, and the only purpose of them is this podcast. I don't play video games. I don't do anything with them. They just sit on that little tray till Sunday 2:00 in the afternoon, and that's it. They and the rest is used every day as That's why I also became, I guess, financially desensitized to the cost of B&O over time. because you just know that fuck, like if I want it, that's just what it is, and if I don't do it now, it's going to be more. And you know, do you trade off the pain of being a first adopter of the product and having the software hobble and on crutches and things don't work, but you save, you know, at this point 15% of the cost of the product, because like the theater was 10 grand, under 10,000 Canadian when it first came out, and now it's 13 and a half. Wow. Right? And you throw a grill on it, it's 15 G's. If you go stupid like me with the walnut, right? Because it has to match all the furniture, which doesn't make sense in this apartment. But it in my old apartment, everything was it was walnut from Herman Miller.
And then so you have to deal with the app.
In. And then you got to deal with the app, which you know I don't deal with it at home, but I deal with it professionally every day. You know, I in my weekly Samsung reports, I have yours is now motorized wall bracket.
That's what it came up as.
Oh my fucking
I don't
God.
have a motorized wall bracket, just to be clear.
So yeah, there are
the
things
floor
that
stand
definitely
literally reported as a different product somehow.
That's insane. But to me, yeah, that's one of the things that really, you know, at least they're fixing it. They're fixing it, but it's still a pain in the ass, especially when you're having to set up the product and the app crashes 2-3 times, right, and whatever. But you know, the way I do it, I just make people set up the app, set up the account per se if they don't have that app installed, and I just take over the account control, which is the blessing on that app that you can do that. And it basically, I just do everything on my phone, so they don't really suffer the interface of or pain of the setup interface type of thing. But then you know, there's still a little bit glitches here and there when it comes to day-to-day use and interface. But a lot of people that we have, a lot of our clients, they defer from the app because a lot of people here, they have a habit. I don't know, in Canada, it's weird. It's all AirPlay. Canadians growing up on Bluetooth and AirPlay. Like everybody that fucking comes in, does it have Bluetooth? Fudge. Yes, it does, but you don't use that, bro. You walk away to another room, all of a sudden your music's cutting out, and you're like, oh, these speakers are shit. No, man, you're using a connection that's not meant for that.
AirPlay is better, but even then, why? But then again, the app is...
But if you have issues with it...
Yeah, I factory reset my theater and reinstalled it, and a lot of interesting things happened beyond it taking for fucking ever. I'm now 100% certain that B&O should not sell this online at all without an installer coming to do it.
What, the theater?
Yes. Not because it's hard, but because you'll get a bad taste in your mouth after installing it. Whenever you add any WiSA speakers, as soon as it finds it, the app crashes, which then takes you out of the install thing you need to do.
You got to redo it. You got to redo it again. Yeah.
No, but then I tried to make a listening position, and because the app relaunched, like you don't longer have that checklist to go through, I forgot that I hadn't set the parameters of the floor stand yet, but it also reported as a wall mount somehow. So I just go add speakers, put the microphone down, right? Go listen. The first thing that happens is the theater goes dunk into the wall. Like I didn't even touch it, right? I just pressed OK. Is it in the correct position? OK, and then it just decided to slam itself into the wall.
Oh man. You might have overlooked where the speaker was set.
No, it's just it's
just glitched out.
Yeah, it just asks you, is it in the correct position? Yes. And like it decided, no, it's not. It needs to touch the wall for some reason. Yeah,
the app needs to be. They're getting better. They're getting better in it, but I guess that's the biggest problem, I guess, from a user standpoint, like yourself, Jennifer, that you never really had to interface with the app. With the older legacy product, it was always one remote control. Yeah. All the menus were literally in those TVs, and you never really had to go inside them to mess with anything, right? Other than, you know, the overlay menu when you press menu and you know, green button for glass channel or guide or whatnot. But you never really do any of that. But now it's just they overcomplicated it to the point where people are doing it by themselves. It's scary. Okay. So that's one thing, and I guess the life was much simpler back then because we didn't have a multi-room. Well, we had a multi-room, but not multi-source, multi-stream, right? Where if you had, like your BeoSound 5 behind you, when you press go on it, it kicks on the zone where the speakers are playing, and then you just turn up the volume or join it wherever you are in the house, and it's just at one source, right? Where now, which I think it's not to the detriment, but that's where all these things come out that are weird. Like, let's say you're sitting in the room and you're listening to your radio station, whatever, and your husband's listening to something else in the other room using a different product, but still in the B&O system, which was not possible before. And so that's the advantages of it. But then the where it falls apart is the whole interface of it. Sometimes you want to join and it doesn't. No reason for it. Why? Everything's online. Sometimes the app shows that the product's not on, that it's offline, and you're standing in front of it fucking playing, right? Like, well, how is it, right? And you have to refresh the app. So yeah, those are the things that, deter people, I guess, in a way, but I don't see it as a deterrent because a lot of our clients only are stuck to the remote control. Like, once I go through the labor pains of setting it up, you really have no rhyme and reason to go back to the app unless you listen into the Deezer, because the B&O radio, it's preset into the remote control. So if you have a BeoRemote Remote 1, all your favorite stations are in the list under the B&O radio. So you don't have a need to go to the app. For what? And for Deezer side of things, which I don't know where we are standing, because it's like an impending divorce, I guess, between the Deezer and the B&O, because now they're trying to migrate to the title, and now the title works a little better than the app than the Deezer does, and it's just like, it's weird how that works, but that's the only downfall of it. But I guess the benefit that we have here, I guess, in Canada is the culture of AirPlay and Bluetooth. When as soon as you have people understand that Bluetooth is no good, just use your AirPlay. And with the Spotify, there's no limitations either now with the AirPlay too, so it works, right? And then you can bypass the whole app deal. But there are people like ourselves that obviously that are watching the podcast that are tinkerers, right? And those people are the ones that find the frustrations of the daily use of the app, where, like I said, it's some of these things are non-realistic in a day-to-day uses for people that are, in their 60s or 70s. Like, they don't give a shit for the app. Turn on my, and they bought the theater because their BEO system or whatever, or the Avant died, right? And they have a set of lap 5s and 3s in the ceiling somewhere in the wall, and it's all fucking wired. And like, now if you're going to change all that, how do you change it? Because nothing looks the same, and they've been around those speakers for 20 years and we don't want to change them, and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, you just set it all up, and you don't even present the app as an option. You set up, like we just set up the radio stations. Here's your TV. Here's your Apple TV, Netflix, blah, blah, blah. Everything's set. Done.
Okay.
And that's simple, right? But if you start pissing about, then yeah, you will find it. Like, the shit don't stink if you don't poke it. And it's the same with the app sometimes.
You need to have that crust over it. It's protected.
So basically, you just know your audience and your customer. If you know what they're like, you won't even sort of introduce them in the sense of the app or make it complicated. You just sort of make it simple.
We use the app no matter what. Like, let's say you bought the theater and you're not completely technical at all, right? But I still walk you through it. Like, this is what the app offers you in an essence. And we still go through the exercise of, let's set up your radio stations type of thing, right? Because everybody has radio stations that they set up. Yeah. And then when it comes to the music side of it all, like if they're using Apple Music, then the conversation is over. Because you no longer have the need for the app, right? Like, you can use your iPad, you can play your music from there. You can still control the volume with the AirPlay, right, on the volume slider, so that it works perfectly. And they don't have an issue. They don't see the glitches and shit that happens behind the app, and they're not the ones that go in and set up the speaker distances and decibel levels and blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't do that as a client. Like, I don't think you should ever see that as a client, because I think that should be part of that white glove service that B&O should deliver, right? Like, you should have your questions answered. If you wanna bug around with it, then and there are people that are like, okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna fuck with this system. Okay, cool. If you want to do that, then I show them, okay, here's a speaker preset. This is what it all here. Here's all the values for all the speakers and that you have attached, blah, blah, blah. And if you want to change anything, I would suggest that you go here, make a copy and duplicate that setting, and then you can play with it. So if you break it per se, then you can just delete it and you're back to normal.
The ideal customer is like, don't even touch that. You can, but forget about it.
But we have a lot of these ideal customers where they don't touch it, they don't play with it. Like, yes, the younger crowd does go into the settings and they venture deep into the menus and such, but people, you know, my age and older, they don't really have time. They just want it to work, and that's it. And it turns on, that, and they're happy, and they're using the system as they were using the conventional BNO system back from the analog / little bit of digital era. So that's the difference. And
I was actually talking to my missus about it, and I asked, like, the sort of answer was like, if it works, I don't think about it. But the other answer was like, if they charge so much and there are weird issues like this, it's too much. Like, they're overcharging. Which I sort of understand. And I'm sure we'll get to a point where it's all like sort of plug and play. But it's currently not. So
yeah, and how long is it going to take to be that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because essentially you're funding almost like a school project at the moment. Which is also where I get that, like, a lot more people live on the second-hand market, right? Because, like, for a lot of new things, that means you lose 20-30%. And it's like, it's not that much of a sour pill at that point. It's sort of like, I mean, let's say, currently, what, like, 28s, they're, what, like 15 grand or something like that in the UK? I mean, if
14... Yeah, around 14. Depends on what covers you want.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you get the same thing with, like, I don't know, 6 months to a year old, but you pay 10 to 11, that's quite a lot nicer, right?
Yeah. You can find some secondhand ones, you know, especially as cost of living goes up. You do see some people selling those big ticket items just because, times are tough, and it's an asset, right? So you can find some good deals. But I think just going back to how techie do you need to be to have, like, you can have everything sort of set up for you by someone like yourself, Willie, or, like my husband, he's got this BeoLink thing, and he just learns code and puts it in and makes it do stuff all around the house. Like, you have these extreme.
That's a very good husband to have.
Different,
and you know what? It's, to me, that is a perfect client for my example with the living with the app, where you would never see the frustrations that he has to put up with from his perspective, programming and setting these things up. Because for you, it's just like, look, baby, it just works. Hey, fucking, right? But
I see it.
But yeah, you see it as well. But it's just like, it definitely, sometimes it could be the most thankless thing you can ever have in your life, to start to program something and you just beat your head against the wall. But it's the most rewarding when it works, because then it works for good, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, he's a perfect dangerous customer, because he knows, and I appreciate people like that, because these people actually have proper constructive questions when we're doing a job, and they're asking valid stuff. It's not like, what's the difference between Bluetooth and Wi-Fi? Google it, for God's sakes. Like, come on. Like, But if you live in with the BeoLiving intelligence, it's an awesome way to do it. And especially, I think that's the best way to appreciate the B&O sound system as well. If you have everything tied in, I don't know if you have Lutron in the house or whatever, and just, have, like I've had in my old apartment, I had keypads in each room that had functions on it per room.
There's like a Lutron light switches around.
Yeah, so and I think that's the best way to do it when you're using the interface, and that's exactly the point where you no longer even see the app unless, and at that point, if you have the BeoLink gateway or BeoLiving intelligence, whichever one you have, I don't know, you don't really see the Bang & Olufsen app. You see the BeoLink app or BeoLiving app, which is a completely different interface and much more control, much more stable. Everything actually works because it's done through code, and it just forces the product to do it instead of asking it to do it. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot more benefits that I see from running it that way, and way less frustration that you have in the life. but it's also a completely different interface. So if people that are, used to the BNO app all of a sudden migrate to the Bio Living, it's like, oh my God, where is what and how? Yeah. Because now there's there's extra layers of control, like your lights, your shades, your thermostat, if you have it all tied into it. And it's not that hard. At the end of the day, when I was doing the lifestyle interview with people, and you ask like really fucked up questions, because those questions, yes, they're personal, but at the end of the day, that's what matters, how your system works in the morning or in the night and whatever. Like, basically, you're just automating your daily routine, because 95% of the time you do the same shit every day. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And there's these occasions where, yes, we have a party, blah, blah, blah. So that's a different story, or, somebody's birthday, or you go out for 2 weeks somewhere. That's a different. But 95% of the time you live the day exactly the same as far as the routine goes. Your work is work. You get up at the same time, doesn't matter. And once you get all these things figured out from the client and you just input all of that into the integration processor, more or less, and make it work for them. And you make the system work for the person, not you work for the system, which it should never be that way. And I think that's the proper experience with BNO.
The good thing is your husband doesn't have to ask; he just needs to observe. So, like, he's following you with a notepad.
Yeah. We got the BeoLink thing to make the new stuff work with the old stuff, and trying to link all that together, and because you can't replace. Not everyone can afford to replace everything in their house. So if you have a lot of old kit and then you start getting the new kit, it was, how is this going to work together and still connect to the music that's playing in another room when you've got different stuff? And so, yeah, just learning that way.
Yeah, that's the part of home automation that I actually think is worthwhile for a lot more things. I'm kind of anti-smart most things because there's always some weird spying shit going on, right, by somebody. But for tying in old and new things that through like a BeoLiving intelligence, that's the best way to do it, because like there's this code layer that just makes everything talk to everything again.
Yeah.
And it doesn't care if you like it or not, or if the product at the end likes it or not. It just forces, and I like that it's always solid. Yes, there are some times where the product goes offline or whatever, and then if you don't have network connection to the product, then you're obviously screwed. But for that, I would always, suggest and advise to hardwire the product, and then there is no possible way that things could go wrong unless your network fails. But yeah, I think you're a prime example of how the BNO should be lived with, in my opinion, as far as the whole interface and integration, because you're essentially taking 100% advantage of what the capability of that system is, which in my opinion, about 50% of it is really undersold, because the other 50%, it's, first it's your music and your video, but the other 50% is the integration that it ties into the house on a level that people can't even comprehend if they don't live with it for a while. Because you can't really imagine, but if you moved somewhere else and you didn't have that integration, you're all of a sudden like, what the heck are we doing here? Because you're missing that functionality, that it's brainless, it's just instinctual, right? You just press this button, things come on, and that's the end of it.
I think what blew our minds a lot was how the stuff that was made before the app or
before the internet,
before the internet, now works with the internet. Like, how does that happen?
Well, that's what's cool.
It's like they knew ahead of time the internet was coming, and then now make it work together. Like the names of the songs coming up on things, or the digital displays. Like how did it know to do that before?
The foresight, right?
Yeah, the foresight.
I'm totally distracted, by the way, because this man right there told me for years that cats are dicks and just fuck up your shit. And now he sits there stroking a cat because he promised us all he would never get a cat.
I didn't. It's my girlfriend's cat. I'm just cat sitting second podcast in a row, I guess. She's cute though.
Yeah, but you're not just cat sitting. You're playing with it. You're literally sitting there like Dr. Evil, stroking it. Like you're nearly going one of these, like.
Oh, I think you're in love with it now. Look at it.
She's cute. Yeah, she's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little shit. Yeah, she's funny. But yeah, I honestly think that's the proper way to live with the system. And it's like back in Calgary, 9 out of 10 of my clients had the MasterLink or BeoLink gateway that was integrated into the system. And when I remember when I first started buzzing around the B&O store, and the MasterLink gateway came out in 2008, and it was iPhone 3G, whatever, right? The first phone. It was a B&O app, and they could select CDs off of a 9000, with the phone. I'm like, holy shit! Like, this thing was built in 1994, and you can control it with the app.
Yeah, that's what blew our mind.
But that's yeah, exactly, and that's the beauty of it. Like, they had the foresight. Essentially, if I'm not mistaken, in the original MasterLink connection, I think there were 8 wires reserved for network, which never happened. It would have been a different cable standard, and they would be networkable. But at that point, I think at this point now we get into we're in the era where the biggest part of the electronics now is the connection ports. Yes. And the MasterLink port became completely inefficient because it's literally a plug that is 1.5 inches wide, right? Like, it's just too much. Even the poly PV guys that they made that little converter thing for the MasterLink and blah blah blah. The biggest part of that entire thing is the place where the wire clicks into, and the rest is just, it sits on that, like, what the fuck, and that's the difference, I guess, where the old B&O has gone from.
Mm. Yeah, and everything that we got that is technically wireless, we've had to hardwire.
It's the best, and you never have an issue. Yeah. But yeah, the gateway was it was a game changer, and then we started tying in the lights, and I had the whole store. We had the Seidel a company that does the entry, that like one of the oldest German entry point companies or intercom makers. And I had it, like, when you go down the rabbit's hole, I had it so when you scanned on the fingerprint reader, the whole store would turn on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy, because I'm like, how much more convenient can I make this? In a shop, it's not like it's a pain in the ass, but you have like 4 TVs and a couple products to turn on, blah, blah. You just swipe your finger, poof, the whole store lights, the gate would come on. And it was like, holy shit. I'm like, and it's all it is just simple, goofy code. And that's it. And it makes so much difference in life.
Yeah, definitely.
So since everything's wired, do you get to, like, every time something new comes in, look at like major gashes in the wall where, like,
there's been way too many weekends and evenings just spent watching the house get chiseled out, and out there with ladders around the house, hammering the cables to wrap around. But the worst part is that there was this one time something stopped working. Couldn't figure out what it was. It was driving me nuts, like, just for hours trying to figure out which cable it was. And it turns out there was some squirrel that chewed through one of the outdoor MasterLink cables, and it just ruins everything, like, these little critters.
That was also the weakest point of the MasterLink system, that it was a spinal cord that ran throughout the entire home, and any point that wire would be damaged, the whole system falls off the line.
Yeah.
Or if you had a MasterLink lockup, that's another one that you have to disconnect all the products. And the worst one was the 3500 soundbar looking. Usually people had it above the door.
I got one of those. Yeah.
David Lewis had a complete disregard for, like, human reach and fingers to plug shit into. That was his thing for sure.
If the plug fit, that was good enough.
Oh man, David Lewis just hated on installers, I think, because it was just unbelievably hard. The BeoSound 9000, I think the worst connection there is the FM antenna. Yeah, you plug that in, bro. I usually just fucking rip it out, and then I put the 9000 down, and I take the connector out, and I redo the antenna connection, because it's insane. It's absolutely insane. But with the new product, there's really not much to it. The 28s I find are little crammy.
Yes.
when
I
you
have
start
fat fingers. I couldn't get the power plug in. I had to get some tweezers to like plug
well,
it
that's
in.
A. B, the problem is that there's not enough on the back spine if you're running 3 or 4 Cat7 cables into it when you need to, because we had to. Then it's 3 Cat7s plus a power cord. It's very hard to close the back.
Yeah,
So
that's a shop
that's
issue
also
more so than a home issue.
no. We had ones that we did on the wall, BeoLab 28s on the wall, and the spine in that huge hard ass angle there. Like there's enough, interesting enough, because I thought it was going to be a cut. No, there's enough well for the wires to go through. Magic number, 22.5 inches, bro. 22.5 inches from the wall will reach exactly to the power link. Why did B&O not provide that measurement? I don't know, man. But for all the installers, 22.5 inches on the wall-mounted BeoLab 28s, how much the cables need to come out the wall.
Yeah, the 28s are one of the few speakers where you really don't have, well, probably the 8s too, where you, unlike older speakers, you can't store any excess wire anywhere.
Oh, absolutely not. Like they barely fit the cables that are prescribed to be connected to them.
I mean, even in like 18s, right? You can stuff like 20, 30 centimeters in that cavity.
Oh, into the cone, you can fit a good 1.5 meters of wire for sure. But you're not in the newer speakers. It's impossible completely. Like even level, you can hardwire it. It looks ugly because it's just from the back plug, right? You got to remove that little cover. But yeah, there's no sexy way to go about it really, with most of the stuff nowadays. Because I think that they believe that what a lot of people believe, that Wi-Fi, is magic and wireless just works. It does, but there's always you introducing problems. You never know. You have some goof neighbor that bought some fucking Huawei Chinese router of something. All of a sudden, your speakers start falling off the network and connection and whatever, and you don't know what, because nothing's changed in your house, right? And you're just left to wonder. So yeah, there is a.
Look, our mobile phones aren't even guaranteed to work.
Get in my elevator here, man. Yeah. As soon as the door closes, cut. That's it. So yeah, I know hardwire wherever you can. That's the best way to do it.
You put a mirror up on a certain wall, right? Like, well, there's some aluminium on the back of that mirror. Like, who knows what happens? I finally started using my Moment again. It's yeah. Like it's wiser to this stuff. So it's just. This is going to be my computer setup, essentially.
I like it. I'm glad that you put them up, because it's a shit shame that you just don't have them going on.
But where it sits right here, like literally this left side of my desk apparently is almost an entire dead zone for Wi-Fi. Like it's fine over here, but there's a bunch of shit on my desk already over here. But on my left side, like, yeah.
Yeah, it feels bad, man, but I guess that's the nature of the beast, right? That you always play that guessing game with the Wi-Fi. And a lot of installations in the houses,
right? Like it would be fine. But like literally 40 centimeters here, like
a dead zone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wi-Fi is a dangerous game, and a lot of people here in Canada that the cable guys, when they come in and install your internet, they usually throw it in the electrical room, and they put the fucking thing over top of the breaker box, which is other than throwing that thing in the water, that's the second worst spot for the Wi-Fi router to be at, because it's just sitting over a giant coil of magnet, essentially, where all the breakers are and all the wire. It just pulls the Wi-Fi down, and people are like, wow, it should work. I'm like, well, you know what? When I was a little child, I believe when I closed my eyes, I was invisible, but that's bullshit. And it's the same with that. Like if you don't have enough network provisions, your system's always going to suffer. That's just where it's at. And I'm glad that your husband is smart enough to do that wired everywhere, because that's the best way to do it. Ain't nobody going to go back to the cable and screw with that, and especially in the English walls when you cement the shit out of it inside. So there's no... You don't face the risk what we have in Canada, I'm certain that you know, where everything is built out of... basically paper and plaster of Paris, And I've had a number of times where, like we did our cables and the finishing crew came in and shot nails through the baseboards and through the cables. Oh, yeah. And you don't find out till you find out, right? When you connect and like you're buzzing the cable, what the fuck failed short? How? And then, you go and, oh, man, we got to pull the baseboards out and see. So,
KCBR on the chat says Willie would cable the remotes if he could.
I
would. Wow. We used to have that in the 60s, right? Where like opened that little flap, the remote came out on a bloody retractable cable.
It's like it reminds me of the Electrolux vacuum cleaner we used to have in Slovakia when I was a child. With the retractable cord. Because now everything's battery powered, right? You got the Dyson with the hand. So it's it's funny. Yeah, I would cord the remote for sure. Wow. I honestly think that this should have been still IR. I don't know. It's much faster, but we live in the era we live in where everything has to be Bluetooth and interconnectable in one way or the other, has to have two-way feedback and so on and so forth. Which at the point I'm thinking, like, if it should have a two-way feedback, shouldn't that tell you what volume the TV is on when you do volume? It should just give the digits correlated to the system. I think that would make sense.
I think they say it has something to do with battery life. Look, the old two-way IR remotes that came with like a BeoSystem 5000, 5500 could tell you what volume it was on. Like it wasn't like one of these slidey bars, right? But it would tell you with lights.
But that's why I like the Halo. It's probably one of the most overpriced remotes for what I'm using it for now. But once the gateway comes out in the new apartment, it's gonna have all the possible controls, because I'm probably going to throw some Lutron into the place as well, just so I can have control. Because once you live with motion activated lights in the bathroom, it is really hard to go back to just turning them on. And it's been 2 years in here and I still walk into the can and I'm waiting for the lights to come on, but they don't, because I didn't switch it on. So that's definitely first thing that's going to change. But where was I going with this? I forget.
You need to eat more carrots just in case, because otherwise you could miss completely.
But no, it's just I guess the point of the integration that I just miss it, man. I miss it hard. And once you live without it, you understand how bad it is to live without it. I remember when my mom bought the new house and I was moving her, and she had Lutron in the entire home that I put in before. She's like, when could you we need to do the light. I'm like, the first thing we're going to do is lighting system in the house, because it's just, you're so used to it that it just makes sense to get it done. And yeah, she lives exactly the life you have with the BeoLiving intelligence and the whole, I left her the entire old system that I had in there, so the whole house is master linked. All the Philips hues and everything works off the keypads, and she's happy with it, and it's super cool. And I think the funniest thing was that everybody that, when we first moved in, when I first put the system in, everybody was shocked that she had music in the bathroom, right? Because it's just like, it's so unusual. I'm like, yeah, why not? I have these BeoLab 2000s, I got to put them somewhere. So they ended up in the bathrooms, and 3500s ended up in all the other rooms. But yeah, there was one thing that people always commented on, so nice to have a bathroom music.
So go to Japan. In Japan, it's the actual toilet that plays your tunes.
That's weird.
Yes, it is weird.
To mask your sounds, yes.
But that's one of the reasons why I did, in my old apartment where I had the BeoSound 1 playing in the bathroom, but it was also tied into the gateway with the occupancy sensor. So when somebody would walk in, or myself, when I had people over and you walk in, the music actually turns up. So you don't really hear people out, and it's I guess it's psychologically more comfortable, right? Where you're not in a quiet room, and if somebody's just watching TV, it's just noisy, right? So yeah, it's just those goofy things, and with the gateway, I guess with the whole interface, I think there's really one major limitation once you have everything set up in your house as far as the product or equipment goes. It's your imagination, because if you can't conceive of that comfort feature, that's your only limit, right? And some things sound cool in your head and you program them in and you're like, okay, this is fucked up. No, delete the macro. And then you go and you hone it out. Because I had the same, like, when I first moved there to the apartment, I had a welcome button, right? So I pressed the welcome button and the lights came on, the music came on, all this shit turned on. But there's been a few times where I just needed to turn on the lights because let's say I forgot the keys or some stuff, right? I had to come back to the apartment and I pressed the welcome and fucking the whole thing comes like, come on, bro. So then I'm like, okay, well, this doesn't make sense. I need to separate these. So welcome now just does the lights and music will turn on the music in the system and goodbye shuts off all. So when I would happen to forget things, I would just press welcome, the lights come on, you do your thing, goodbye. And the 90s and the shape and the TV, everything wouldn't turn on for no reason for, those 15 seconds that I'm digging in a jacket pocket for a keys.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good point. That's a good point. You don't need
no, but that's how you hone it out, right? Because it sounded like a cool idea at the time. And then you realize okay, well, this makes sense only when I really come back home. But if I have to if I step in and oh shit, I forgot something, then I either have a flashlight handy so I don't turn on any lights, right? Yeah. Or I have to separate these functions. And there's a long podcast where Hendrik does an interview with me where I go through my apartment and go through the integration. Something that if you want, you can have your husband to watch, because it shows all these functions and how it all tied in. He probably did. Yeah. But yeah, it's the gateway, I think, is very understated product. A lot of dealers, in my opinion, are scared of selling it because it involves a lot more in-depth interface with the client on a very, I would say, teetering on an uncomfortable level of interview for some people, because you ask them very personal questions about their lifestyle or how they do it, right? Some people are too personal about it, some people are not. Some people are more open, some people are not. And, there's people like your husband when he's capable fully of doing it. So then he doesn't even need to go to that interview, right? He just needs to have a basic understanding of how this plugs in. And then, here's your ship, sail it. Where not many people, there's maybe, he's probably, well, I've never met your husband, but he would be maybe fourth person that I know that is comfortable doing it without any hand holding, right? Mm-hmm. So, but then you also need to be inclined technically into that kind of a field, right? Just not decide one day, I'm okay, I'm going to program my house, right? Okay, well, you can make the decision, but it's going to be a pain if you don't have a guidance.
Yeah.
So
it's about that time. I'm going to call it for this week. Hold right there. We'll say goodbye properly when the outro is going and stuff like that. Everybody, go and if you're on Instagram, go to DigiBricks. The links are in the chat. Also go to the YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us. Very interesting.
Thank you for sure.
See a perspective.
You are the first female on our podcast, believe it or not. That's right. Second?
Yeah,
second? Who was? Oh, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Oh, Jenny was the first. Yeah, Jenny was the first.
It's two Jennifers. Yeah. Second.
That's it. That's it.
Anyway, thank you all for watching, and hope everybody has a good week, and we'll see you probably next week.
Bye.
Bye.